Hackman released a video about Switch 2 being announced. I'll probably agree and disagree with him. Hopefully I find some information in here that I haven't heard yet. Or maybe some takes that I haven't heard. I, for one, do not really care either way. I wasn't going to buy Nintendo products anyway, but it does spell bad for the AAA gaming community and the market moving forward. But I also just don't buy AAA games or full price games in general. I usually play retro or indie titles. So I'm kind of just reacting to all of this and making fun of the idiots on both sides and just kind of trying to stick to the middle of the road.
The Switch 2 has finally been announced and revealed to the world. Can you even believe it? A new Donkey Kong 3D platformer, one we haven't seen in 25 years.
Not gonna lie, this game does interest me. And if the games are actually worth $80, $90, you know, and they're like not the same size as Wii U or Switch 1 titles, that they're actually like Breath of the Wild size games, I kind of get it. And these are more collector's games. Nintendo kind of knows what they're doing. It's not good, and I don't like it, but they do know what they're doing. I'm priced out of it now, completely. If I would even want to think about buying a Switch 2 and getting the Nintendo Switch 2 games, I'm not in it anymore. I'd have to go for the indie and third-party titles that are on the Switch that are usually a lot cheaper than the actual collectible Nintendo titles. At the end of the day, if they're willing to pay, is that not what they're worth?
This is a dream come true. This is heaven. I've died and gone to heaven. This new console and all these great new games, it's all gonna be available for the low price of... What? What was it?
And it's going to cost $450. $450. $450.
$450.
Not for me. There's no way. Even if it was $300, I wouldn't buy it for that. I'll probably buy it for $100 to $150 cheaper than what they have it listed for. And then I'll probably pay $20 for a game to go with it. Honestly, it'd probably be Stardew Valley.
This is outrageous. It's unfair.
And that's just for the console itself.
Once I bought a Wii U, I made it run, played some games in my time. Once I bought a Wii U, now it's done. Brother, can you spare a Switch?
What's up, everybody? This is the Homeless Man here, and today, the Great Gamer Depression is upon us.
I also look homeless. Even my cartoon character that I got up on the screen looks homeless.
This is my Great Depression outfit. I'm gonna take it off because it is obnoxiously hot, and not just because I'm the one wearing it. Hey-o!
Hey, that really sucks!
So in a 2-hour-long direct, Nintendo revealed the Switch 2 and all the different features. They gave us a ton of info on the system, its upgrades, downgrades, those are important, a few brand new launch titles to look forward to, and a whole bunch of third-party support. 8 years ago, the Switch came out and started
A bunch of games that I'm just gonna get on my PC. They're not selling me on it. I've got no qualms against them, really. And I've got no qualms against people who are gonna buy it. But honestly, I'm just gonna buy the games on my PC if they're available also on PC. Because I'll have them forever. For the foreseeable future, obviously. Maybe not forever. Nintendo Switch, their store isn't gonna last forever. They've already shut down multiple stores from the past. So why wouldn't they shut down the Switch eventually, and then you just lose all of the games that you bought? Or a bunch of them just flat out don't work because not all of the game files are on the actual cartridge.
a new generation of consoles, and this is the dawn of a new generation. And would you look at that? The next Pokemon game? Looks like it's running off of a fucking GameCube. A time that should be filled with
I haven't seen anything about the new Pokemon. New Pokemon does not interest me.
excitement, nerdgasms, if you will. But alas,
Were it so easy.
Nintendo is asking you to drop $450 on a Switch 2.
I don't think that that's a bad price, actually. I think that's a justifiable price. If the games were still $70 for the AAA full release titles. Or even $60. And then have discounts for the upgrades.
That is the baseline price for people in the US, though I'm sure it's all fucked up in different countries as well.
Oh my my goodness!
People are understandably frustrated. What? Why? I thought you liked spending money. Don't ever stop consuming. You love consuming. Don't ever stop. But why exactly are gamers upset with the Switch 2 and with these price tags?
Because they feel like the extra price is for the gimmicks that nobody wants and for fixes that should have been on the Switch 1 and also doesn't have some fixes that the Switch 1 needed. They just have some problems like Joy-Con drift that's coming right back over to Switch 2. And if you're making a sequel to your console, an upgrade to your console that came out almost a decade ago, and then you're like, well, we still have the original one out for $300. This one is better than $300, so this one's gonna be $450. So what happens if this one stays $450 and we roll right around onto the Switch 3? Is it gonna be $700 in the United States MSRP? Are people gonna pay $700 for a Switch 3? I don't think so, man. Especially if it's only gonna be running at 4K 60. Because I don't see where they go from there.
Is it worth picking up? Do we even know if this will be the final price of the console? Is the price going to increase or decrease? Why are pre-orders in the US suddenly being delayed? Who's fucking with my video games, god damn it? Now, I do want to give my first...
I got an answer for that. Corporations and people who don't actually play video games. And shit eaters online who are just going to take everything that Nintendo and other corporations shovel into their mouths. And they'll just keep saying, thank you, daddy, please more.
Impressions of the Switch 2 and talk about some of the more exciting stuff.
Introducing Game Chat. With this feature, you'll be able to communicate with friends and family while playing a game.
I'm still just going to use Discord. I'm also just not getting the Switch 2, so I'm out.
But we'll have to do that later in the video because right now we have to talk about the elephant in the room. Because in Nintendo's first live stream after the Direct, people were spamming lower the price in chat. Obviously, this is the biggest talking
Somebody said raise the price.
point on the internet for the Switch 2. Not just the $450 price tag, but also, brace yourselves,
some games, including Mario Kart World, are going to be priced at $80 for the digital edition or $90 if you want to buy it physical.
Well, it's not going to have any microtransactions in it, I don't think. Maybe a DLC or two, like some packs. But comparatively, yeah, I can see where they're getting that. I am nowhere near going to pay $80, $90 for a game. I barely even want to pay $20 for a game. So good luck with that. I think a lot of people are starting to feel the same way as me. Indie games, even if they're smaller, even if they're technically less good and have less in them, are also less corporate and way cheaper and have more passion and love made in them, because this honestly is just going to be a franchise machine full of sequels and remakes.
Once I bought a GameCube, Luigi's Mansion, Melee, Wind Waker, and Prime. Once I bought a GameCube, now it's done. Brother, can you spare a game?
The Switch 1 was basically just the GameCube 4. And the Switch 2 feels like GameCube 4.5.
$80 cost of a game. A single game. Why are you upset? Why are you upset? You love spending more money. You told me that yesterday, remember? Don't you know I'm gaslighting you? And this is all besides the other premium stuff and subscriptions Nintendo has been shilling in the Direct.
Everything's more expensive.
Here's how I feel about these games being priced this high. If nobody buys them, or if they don't get enough people buying them, then they'll come down in price. They're going to be probably priced exactly where they're worth, or they're just not going to get bought. And we're just going to have a Wii U situation all over again. Because that's exactly what happened with the Wii U. People didn't buy the games, everything went way down. To a point where people were buying it, but still not enough. And then the Switch 1 released.
Right?
Yeah, the accessories are more expensive than they've ever been. The new Pro controller is $80. A left and right Joy-Con, that's $90 now. They're $13 for the straps.
I'm here for money. Money.
I think what Nintendo is trying to do is, so they used to have a console and a handheld. And now they want the Switch 2 to be more of the console, and if you want the handheld version of the Switch 2, you get the Switch 1 Lite. Or even just the Switch 1. Even though they're both kind of the same console, but the Switch 2 has more gimmicky features and slightly better graphics that you're not going to notice on the small screen. On the big screen, you'll probably notice more. Games will run better, I guess. This is really, I think, more of an upgrade from Nintendo DS Lite to a DSi.
Obviously, a big part of this backlash comes from the fact that Nintendo has always been the accessible, budget-friendly option for gamers. Nintendo may not pack state-of-the-art hardware, but their library is unquestionably top tier.
They used to throw all kinds of games at you. Most of it was like shovelware slop. But sometimes you'd get some gems on the Wii, and the GameCube, and the Wii U. But now, it feels like they're just the hub for the most popular indie games that are everywhere else. Third-party titles that they get way after they release everywhere else. And then overpriced first-party titles that not very many people played because they're overpriced. The fact that Nintendo is still a collectible company and a toy company, they're really, that's what they're doing. They're making a really, really expensive high-tech toy. As long as they're that, they're still gonna have a market, they'll be alive. But I don't think that they're gonna be a leader in the industry anymore. At least for much longer, if they keep this up.
They are the family-friendly brand, the dads and moms. If you're a dad or a mom who've got kids you gotta pay for and take care of and send to school, you're gonna want the cheapest, most convenient thing if you want to retain some semblance of those youthful hobbies you used to have. Look at you becoming a parent. Look at this guy, he reproduced. What a dork. I'm so lonely.
For a lot of families, when they look at $500 for the game of Mario Kart, I think you're gonna have we have a Nintendo Switch at home situation.
But once Nintendo starts pushing this $80 price tag for these premium Switch 2 games, yar har fiddle-dee-dee, new piracy techniques are all right with me. Now, if Nintendo is able...
I do not condone that whatsoever, but they are really making it harder and harder on themselves whenever they do things like this, and you get these games that are just like price walled out, where most people just can't play them solely to the fact they are overpriced. And they're gonna want to play these games in a better state than they could if they actually bought your console also. That's also overpriced.
To get away with these $80, $90 price tags, no doubt Xbox and PlayStation in the competition are going to match that. They're going to adopt these higher price tags for more and more games. I'm not sure if it's 100% confirmed that physical copies are going to cost $90, but if true, fuck you. Why? What, you want to have a shelf of games? You want to physically own it so you can look at that shelf and figure out what game to play? No, stupid. You want a digital library of games that you buy that you end up forgetting you have.
I do want that. I do want a digital library of games, but I want it to be unlocked where I can move the files exactly where I want to, how I want to, and do what I want with the files. Until we're at that point, then physical is the only way to go. Or, sail the 7 seas.
Despite how cool the console might be, the things I'm seeing that I love about it, Nintendo is kind of shooting themselves in the foot by setting these price precedents. But who is entirely to blame? Because I don't understand this, Nintendo. I don't get you.
I don't get you. Don't get you no more.
Excuse me, Nintendo's biggest fanboy here, okay? X-Man, gamers are stupid. They don't understand, all right? Adjusted for inflation, this console is cheaper than previous Nintendo consoles.
It's also incredibly easy to make games compared to back then. Back then, they didn't know what they were doing. They were pretty much just guessing. We have a pretty good idea how to make streamlined games now. And Nintendo doesn't even make the best looking, best playing games. And I just really don't care about how games were priced yesterday, or a year ago, or 2 decades ago. They've always been overpriced. They were overpriced then, they're overpriced now. When I was a kid, I didn't even get to buy any games. I got like maybe 2 or 3 a year. The rest of the time, we just had to go rent them from the local video store.
Games are cheaper adjusted for inflation than they were back in the 80s. These gamers are stupid. It doesn't make sense, Act Man.
You know something? You're right.
Video games are a product like any other, though. They are subject to inflation over time, but most publishers for a very long time were too afraid to raise the cost of a brand new game past $60. And
a really big problem is, a lot of these games really just aren't worth it. Like Star Wars Outlaws, Dragon Age of the Veilguard. These games are not worth full price. I actually don't think Veilguard released at full price. I think it was $10 cheaper, but still.
It was 65 and then it was 70. But they found ways to monetize games in other ways, which we've talked about maybe once or twice on this channel.
I'll pay $90 for a game, actually, that doesn't have a storefront in it, when all of the games with storefronts are 70. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. If it's a 10 out of 10 blowout game on a system I already have, like PC. If Nintendo games are on Steam, I don't think $90 for a game would be that big a deal if they did those things.
And the rest is history. As the co-founder of Costco once said, "If you raise the price of the hot dog, I will fucking kill you." This describes the sentiment among gamers around the $60 price tag. It's kind of something that's just etched into our being. New game comes out. Do I have 60 bucks? Like, can I afford it? It's been ingrained in our heads for so long that any increase seems insane. Because we've also been dealing with loot boxes, battle passes, paid.
I'm calling it now. Duskbloods is going to be one of the most pirated games. Is it single player or is it only co-op? I don't think it even matters. I think it's going to be one of the most pirated games, and there's nothing Nintendo is going to be able to do about it. There's going to be people who do not own Duskbloods playing online. Calling it now.
Progression systems and a bunch of other shit we don't need to get into. But guys, let's be real. I mean, you know, with GTA 6 around the corner, I'm sure Rockstar is going to stick with $60 price tag, right? Because why would they increase that? Now, let's put on our economy.
I don't think they do. I think they stay at $70. And I think that's going to bring in even more people. The fact that it's going to be $70. There might be a deluxe edition for $100 with like some extra stuff for online that you don't really need, like some extra money and cosmetics, and maybe like when season 1 comes out you get some cool stuff, kind of like Diablo 4 did. I think they'll do it. I'm calling it now. I made 2 predictions already.
Glasses, so I can make sense of this for you. Let's start with the numbers. I like numbers because they don't lie. Thanks to the user JML Master, he has calculated the inflation adjusted price for each Nintendo console. And it's really not that crazy. The Switch 2 isn't middle of the road, but it's a little bit higher than that. It's still not the max, and it's not anywhere close to PS5 Pro's, what, $700? So what gives? Well, I'm gonna throw some numbers up on screen of what gives. Basically, adjusted for inflation, the median income of a household in the US has barely gone up since 1985. House prices, meanwhile, have skyrocketed. What does this mean? It means people don't have disposable income.
Not enough cash, stranger.
Yeah, your game's big, but it's $90. Your game's real big, but it's a whole lot of money. I don't think that I can justify paying that much money for a toy when I have to buy food and pay rent.
That's why they're pissed. It's pretty simple. When more and more people start living paycheck to paycheck, then non-essentials like video games and hobbies become just that, non-essential. You will own less and you will be happy. Not to mention the incoming tariff sales tax that we're adding. Why do I have to talk about tariffs? Why can't you just let me be excited for a video game console? It's unfortunate then that real world politics could potentially drive up the cost of the Switch 2, and therefore I have to fucking talk about it. In a worst case scenario,
I don't even think that's gonna be the case. I think they're going to drive up the prices and maybe blame the Trump tariffs, but there's going to be so much going on behind the scenes. Especially if it's not selling, I could see them driving up the price even more. Because the fanboys are going to buy it no matter what price.
Estimates I've seen, the cost of the Switch 2 could be increased by 50% by the tariff sales tax. Again, that's probably worst case scenario, but it says something that I feel like I have to prepare for that reality. Now, what has Nintendo done to prepare for these tariffs? Well, thankfully something. At the very least, they've started to stockpile Switch 2 consoles in the US.
Prepare for the news about scalpers buying up all the consoles and selling them for like $2,000 online, and people still gonna be buying them. Can't wait to talk about that situation that's coming up soon.
Numbering about 350,000. So at the very least, the Switch 2s that are in the United States will be sold at the $450 margin, assuming. Some people have theorized that the cost is taking tariff sales tax into account. Upon looking at some recent articles, this is probably more likely, but who really knows what's gonna happen? Nintendo has updated GameStop, saying that they're removing pre-orders for the Switch 2 to assess the potential impact of the tariff sales tax and evolving market conditions. This uncertainty is only going to spark further panic and demand once pre-orders are reopened and once consoles are being loaded onto shelves.
I actually think they're panicking because of scalpers. I think scalpers are buying up everything online. And then they locked a bunch of people out that were gonna buy it who didn't exactly have Nintendo before. Potential customers that were locked out because you have to prove that you have been playing Nintendo in order to get a pre-order. But I think that's only on Nintendo's website themselves. Everywhere else, I've been hearing scalpers already. Already some people are trying to post it up on eBay, which is not allowed yet. I think it has to be 45 days out from release before scalpers can start posting.
Especially amongst the hardcore Nintendo enthusiasts who would be willing to sacrifice their firstborn child to get one of these things on the release night. With enough panic and demand, you know who comes back? Everyone's favorite sequel, everyone's favorite businessman, Scalpers 2.
Woo! I love that one. Gives me something to talk about. Because I'm never involved in the situations at all, because I never buy anything new.
With uncertainty of how much this is going to cost, it's going to be ripe for the picking for scalpers, I would imagine. So there's another thing to look forward to.
I can see Nintendo raising the price of the console to try and price out the scalpers, but the scalpers will just buy it up at the bigger price and then price it for even more.
So we have no idea if the $450 price tag is going to stick. All we can be certain of is uncertainty. When people are confused, they get angry. It's really that simple. Regardless, this is going to be a bloodbath for people's wallets and bank accounts. I think gamers are more irate this time around because video games have always been an escape. I'm remembered of that Modern Warfare 2 video, how gamers dealt with the recession. And so with so many people already strapped for cash, they feel like they can't even afford the latest and greatest escape from life and reality. So that's most of the bad. Now, let's move on to the Direct itself. I think this is what also makes it a difficult pill to swallow, is that this new Mario Kart looks fucking amazing, all right? They added skating. What is this? Jet Set Radio Future? What is Tony Hawk gonna be a playable character? And wall jumps in a kart racer? Nintendo always finds ways to innovate on franchises that you wonder, like, well, what more could you do with it?
Too bad everybody's gonna miss it because nobody's gonna play it. People definitely see gameplay online, or maybe they'll know somebody who has a Switch 2 who decided to get it. Who knows? I'm probably gonna be skipping it.
All right, to be fair, I think Nintendo is running out of characters because now we're getting hyped for Cal, but from like Moo Moo Farms. There's a reason Nintendo opened with Mario Kart World. It's because Mario Kart 8 sold 75 million copies. No doubt Mario Kart World is going to be a Switch 2 exclusive to drive sales to the console. It's a good strategy. The maps look great. The idea of being able to go off the track and race to the next race and just fuck around with your buddies,
Yeah, I don't see it staying at $90. I can see it dropping down to 50. Maybe it'll go back up as it gets older. I don't think people are gonna buy it at 90. I think it's gonna be 50 because if they're selling physical copies, those physical copies have to be on the shelves. And if people can just buy the digital version, then the physical copies are just going to sit on the shelves and collect dust. They'll have to come down in price on those if nobody's buying them.
That's very appealing to me. Mario Kart World looks like a big W. What's next?
Introducing Game Chat.
It has taken Nintendo 23 years to catch up to Xbox Live. Nintendo is such a weird company because they're always behind on some trends, but way ahead of the curve on others. They're always at the peak of their video game development prowess, but when it comes to like something like voice chat, it's like, well, how does this work? Again, that family-friendly brand image, well, you know, voice chat on a Nintendo console? What could go wrong?
I live in Smethwick, Birmingham. If you want the fucking brawl, come down Smethwick Hospitality. I'll come out of my house and I'll break your fucking legs.
I love how Nintendo always introduces these social features in the most like whimsical, childlike, innocent way. And meanwhile, I'm like crippled by years of Xbox Live PTSD.
I actually think this is a waste. I don't think Nintendo should have even worried about game chat. We're way past game chat now. People are just going to use Discord. There's no way, even if I got a Switch 2, that I'm going to get my friends, that if they get the Switch 2, no way I'm getting them on game chat. We'll just go to Discord. We already have Discord. Most people I know have Discord.
So here's the bad news. You're gonna have to pay to use game chat. Now, I'll give them credit. Game chat looks like it has much more applicability than something like Discord would have, where you can actually, like in Mario Party, see the expressions, the facial expressions of your friends as you fuck them in the ass and steal their stars.
I don't think it's gonna work very well. It seems already, just looking at it, that it's not very high quality. So I can already see it being buggy and not working, and they just not do anything with it. And it's kind of just an experimental feature that they left on it because, look, another feature!
That's gonna be highly important to me as a huge piece of shit. So on top of the $450, $80 for the game, now they want you to pay a subscription fee to play the game online and to be able to use game chat. 2 separate subscriptions. I will say having a 10-month free period is great.
And there's this.
What is it? That stench. I've smelled it before.
Your voice is recognized by a microphone built into the system. It can pick up your speaking voice clearly, even from a distance.
They are bringing the Kinect back.
You know what it is? You know what it's gonna be? I don't think Nintendo intended it for it to be like this, but people are gonna use it as a collectible. They're just gonna, people who collect video game stuffs, they're gonna collect it, and it's gonna sit on a shelf and be like, look at this cool weird thing Nintendo did that didn't make any sense. I'm gonna make a video about it. Scott the Woz is gonna have video about the Nintendo camera in like 2 years.
You know what that means? It means you and your friends are gonna be witnessing god tier levels of echo.
When it's noisy around you, your voice will still come through clearly.
Bullshit. Ain't no way Nintendo is coming into the voice game chat this late and it's just gonna work. What Switch 2 screen share will look like?
Discord is like top tier and it still hasn't 100% figured it out. Xbox, same way. Since Xbox 360 days. Yeah, they still haven't really figured it out. It's pretty good. I don't think Nintendo's gonna beat Xbox. Definitely not beating Discord.
Probably. The fact that they're showing the screen share be a bit laggy indicates that that's probably what it's gonna look like, as opposed to, you know, having it look perfect in this presentation with the smoke and mirrors, and then people buy the console, they use the screen share, and it looks like shit. But this whole camera feed thing, I feel like is absolutely going to create some viral marketing for the Switch camera. So what I like about the Switch 2 is that Nintendo is refining their original concept and making genuine improvements in pretty much every way. From 120 FPS on handheld, that's kind of nutty. I think we're past the era of game consoles making these huge graphical leaps with new generations, but the Switch performed obnoxiously well despite how underpowered it was compared to the Series X and PS5. Everything from like the size of buttons to the...
That's how they get you. Nintendo makes leaps in their graphical capability because they're behind the curve, and then they just catch up a little bit. And then but they're still kind of behind, and people are like, oh yeah, oh, this is so awesome. Such an upgrade. When in reality, there's just better things out there. Nintendo is really good at marketing and really good at having cool, fun ideas. But they're just so gimmicky. They're so gimmicky.
The magnetic grips, my controllers used to fuck up and couldn't connect on the sides, so, and Joy-Cons that can be used as a mouse. It's gimmicky stuff like this that really is gonna make for some hilarious Mario Party minigames.
My current location.
If they work, or if they keep working, even if they do work. Because I don't see that. They were already having issues with the Joy-Cons, and then they just packed more features into it without fixing some of the issues of the Joy-Cons. And they're gonna be like, well, the Joy-Cons are $70, so the Joy-Con 2s got more stuff in them, so that they're gonna have to be $90, $100. Oh, what about the upgraded version? We fixed all of the everything. $120.
Is actually inside the game itself.
Then there's Nintendo Switch Welcome Tour. It's me versus 2.0, my god. But it seems to be playing off of like Astro's Playroom, which was a great game and a fun tech showcase for the PS5. And guess what? That was free. This is not. What? But this doesn't even look like a video game. It looks like a series of tutorials. Why would I pay for this? Like, come on, man. Give us a free game with the console if you're gonna charge $80. Give us a free game or two. Like, remember Wii Sports? It came with the console. I do think it's cool that the mouse controller stuff seems like they're still utilizing that old Wii remote functionality, but it's cool. Now it looks like they're also doing upgrade games, you know, what Sony is doing with the PS5, where they're reselling the same game, but, you know, maybe a little upgrade fee for some pretty minute improvements. These are not all that impressive to me.
Don't forget all of the third-party titles that are getting released that came out 3-4 years ago, but now they're on Switch, eh? You want to play it on the Switch now? Not gonna be as good, not gonna look as good, but you can play it on a plane. You can play it on a train.
Metroid Prime 4, oh my god, finally. Another game we could talk about that we're actually excited for. Metroid fans have been eaten like kings recently, and Prime 4 is likely going to be no exception. It's definitely the right call to release this on Switch and Switch 2, since it was announced before the Switch 2. Feel like a real slap in the dick if it were otherwise. I'm hyped for this. Pokemon Legends. Well, it's a massive improvement from Scarlet and Violet, which, you know, looked a little worse than N64 games. But Pokemon has finally gotten to GameCube level quality. Are you kidding me, dude? Not impressed at all with.
I remember back in the GameCube days when people expected a game that looked exactly like that to be coming out. And then here we are, finally. 20 years later, they did it. They released the game for GameCube, but people don't play GameCubes anymore, so it's on the Switch too.
Pokemon. Then there was this oddball announcement for wheelchair robot basketball. Give it to me, okay? The sports genre side of gaming has been so static, repetitive, and boring for years. We need stuff like NBA Jam or NFL Blitz or wheelchair basketball.
Yeah, this looks like they're trying to compete with Rocket League and games like that, but I don't think so, bro. This one looks a little weird. It doesn't look good enough, and it looks like there's not very much to it to actually compete with anything. So it's just going to be like this little mini game that your friends play for like a day at a party.
Rocket League. This looks fun. On top of this, Nintendo is partnering with a ton of third-party studios to bring games like Hogwarts Legacy, Elden Ring, Street Fighter 6, Hades 2 to the Switch 2. Also, I did not realize that Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4 were getting remade, because it doesn't say it's a remake in the title there.
I wouldn't say the Tony Hawk 3 and 4 is a remake. I'd say it's more of a reimagining, because it's not really going to be like 3 and 4. There's just going to be some elements there that they're reusing. A lot of stuff is going to be different. A lot of stuff's going to be taken out. A lot of stuff's being put in. It's a reimagining.
Ah yes, the long-coveted GameCube emulator, which you can access for free using certain means. Do you like dolphins? I like dolphins.
I like dolphins. I got some dolphins.
Yo, Soul Calibur 2? Okay, I fucks with that.
Get ready to experience F-Zero GX.
Could it be? An F-Zero acknowledgement after so many years. F-Zero GX. So this is a pretty decent lineup for the GameCube emulator. What would be interesting to see is if we'll be able to play these games online. Oh my God! To close out this show, Nintendo dropped 3 bombshells. Dusk Bloods, a new game from Software. People are calling it Bloodborne 2, and it looks incredible.
I don't think it's gonna be like Bloodborne 2. I think it's gonna be kind of its own thing. Maybe like something like Elden Ring Night Rain or whatever that game's called. It's probably gonna be like that, but with a little bit of different gameplay. Maybe close to Bloodborne 2, but I don't think it's gonna be Bloodborne 2.
And Kirby Air Riders, unexpected. Sakurai is directing it. There's a lot of racing games showed off in this direct, but Kirby Air Ride always felt like such an incredibly fun game that just didn't have a whole lot of content at the end of the day. That game truly deserved a sequel, and I'm happy to see that it's getting one.
I remember playing that game back in the day. I've played just about every GameCube game, probably every notable Wii game, probably every notable game ever before 2016. I'm pretty versed on games. This Kirby game looks really fun. That Donkey Kong Bonanza looks really fun. Mario Kart World looks really fun. Whatever new mainline Mario game that they're gonna make, Odyssey 2, it's gonna be amazing. Next mainline Legend of Zelda game is gonna be amazing. I kinda do want the Switch too, actually. But man, $90 for games, that's gonna hurt. That's gonna be something I'd have to plan for. Cause I might get a new Zelda game. I'm probably not gonna get upgrades for old games unless I need it to play on the Switch too. But if I don't need it and I can just play it with like old graphics, I'm probably gonna do that.
But now it's time for the big bananas. The big bananas.
Oh my fucking God!
This game looks like it's gonna be the Mario Odyssey of Donkey Kong games. Just the way that you can break the map and destroy it and just become a monkey. I don't know what you want me to say. This looks like they're bridging the gap between Donkey Kong 64 and all the recent Donkey Kong Country games, which I could not be more excited for. But where is Diddy? Where is Diddy? No, not him. Also, I like how they showed just like 3 seconds of Silk.
You know, where is Diddy? I haven't made any content about Diddy in a long time. What's going on with Diddy?
Song after people have been losing their minds waiting for it. So here's where I'm at.
Watch it get delayed. I could see the new Hollow Knight getting delayed. I didn't play the first one, so I don't have the same feelings everybody else was having.
With Switch 2, the games look great. The improvements to the console itself are much appreciated. That stuff is important to me, but the increased price of games over time is going to add up, and I'm worried about that. Why are gamers upset with the Switch 2? Well, it's a combination of things, but it's pretty simple. Money.
It's pretty simple that 2 Switch games used to be $120, and now 2 Switch games are going to be $160, $180. Imagine trying to buy 3 at once. You'll have 1 Switch game and have to play that over and over again for a month. Unless you want to play, you know, the in-between indie titles. You want to play Stardew Valley again? We're gonna have that. You want to play Terraria again? We'll have Minecraft.
Money.
Like I said, folks in the US don't have a whole lot of disposable income right now. And when times are tough, everybody needs an escape. If you can afford that escape, but if you can't, then you're just shit out of luck. If people feel like they can't even afford to escape, then that's a pretty worrying sign. And it's not so much a statement about Nintendo's prices, but rather the cost of living that people are dealing with. I thought the presentation was fun, colorful, creative. There's a lot of things to be excited for, but Nintendo is certainly making some questionable choices, and we'll see how it plays out. But those are my thoughts on the Switch 2 Direct. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the Act Man for more awesome content. All right, everyone, that's all I got for today. This is the Act Man signing out. Peace.
I think the Switch 2 is going to be successful. I don't think it's going to have quite the same impact that the Switch 1 had, or the Wii. I think it's probably going to be a little bit better than the Wii U. And they're not going to be making big strides in their gaming. I think they're coming out swinging, and then they're hopefully they're not going to fall apart. Because they're going to have to make better games moving forward than the ones that are coming out. And the ones that are coming out seem pretty good. They're going to have something up their sleeves. Because you'll get those initial buys, but the day one sales for the Switch 1 is not what made it successful. It was its longevity in the games that were coming out for it. And, you know, it started to dwindle there at the end. And they're already pretty far behind. Even still. Especially when it comes to indie games. There's just so many on PC and even on Xbox. I don't know, I'll let you know if I end up buying the Switch 2. But for now, this is probably the last I'm going to talk about this situation. I'm out. Buy a t-shirt down in the description.